Jaco Beukes from Sale, a very warm welcome to the Red Zone. It's good to have you with us today. First of all, the quick overview, if we can, about the state of sponsorship in South Africa right now. Often it's seen as an expensive media buy. You're going to tell me that it's still a good and cost-effective option, aren't you?
Good morning, Jeremy. Yes, I think indeed that's the case. I'm sure that's the business we're in, and we have to believe in what we do. I think I have to agree with you that it is perceived to be expensive. I think we all live in a state of economy that's very tough, and it has been over the last 4 or 5 years. And to be honest, I don't think even the optimist amongst us see a lot of light in the tunnel in the next 4 or 5 months. However, I think from a sponsorship point of view, I think we've got various levels to still believe and think that it's a great buy. I think, to mention a few examples, we sit with continuous research that shows the return on investment for sponsors. I think we believe that we are benchmarked among the normal other mediums that companies do have, and I can use radio, broadcast, and all other above-the-line advertising media. So we are confident that the sponsors and partners do get return.
Good to hear, but it's critical that any brand playing in this space has got to make the right strategic choice. They've got to get the fit right. Often that's easier said than done, isn't it?
That's true. But I think from a research point of view and understanding our brands, we don't go to brands with shopping lists. We make sure we understand the brand first, and we make sure there's a strategic fit to a specific brand linked to a specific sports brand, as an example. And we make sure there's through-the-line thinking, and again, backed up by appropriate research. But it's also a matter of becoming a partnership instead of a sponsorship. So we think long-term, we really...
What does that mean, a partnership, as well as being a sponsorship?
Good question.
It's adding more value.
Indeed.
How do you do that?
I think we find various ways. I think the traditional sponsorship method or methodology was always linked to some advertising space on a field and maybe a suite up in the corner. That is
the rugby box and the hoarding around the side. That's
exactly.
That's gone away, has it?
We still make it part of it, and I'm sure there is still value in that. And I'm sure we'll get to some entertainment elements later. But we find ways where we really create value, and social media is obviously one of those. And as much as there's still skepticism around the value of social media, I think a long-term communication and access to consumers is where the real value sits. And we don't only use the social media element. We find creative ways through ticketing and customer relationship strategies, where we give direct access from a sponsor to his consumer base, because that's what it's all about. He needs a platform to talk to his consumers.
So it's finding as many touch points as possible.
Exactly, and I think we've over the last couple of years found some really creative ways to do that, and we show that to sponsors on a continuous basis.
There is prevailing thinking in this country, Jaco, that if you're in soccer, it's safe and nothing else counts. That's wrong, though, isn't it?
I think it's,
especially if you're a rugby fan.
It's right and wrong. Myself being a rugby fan, I think we do believe that as much as the demographics of our country has changed on various levels, we see that it has changed along the lines of sporting codes as well. There's no doubt in my mind, from an economies of scale point of view, soccer is where the economy sits and where the most benefits in terms of numbers of spectators and consumers sits. However, there's again research and a lot of that shows that across sporting codes like cricket and rugby and other of the smaller ones as well, that there's a big move towards more diversity and consumers being interested to get involved in those. Our challenge as a sponsorship agent is to make sure there's collective ways of taking the sport to the consumers, and in that sense I'm talking about broadcasting elements. Is rugby, as an example, available to the wider public out there from a broadcast point of view, and do they have access to that? Because only that will give long-term longevity from a sponsor.
Or let's switch tack if we can. Those white elephants often that we see on the horizon, those stadia that were built for the 2010 World Cup, often they haven't been seen as commercially viable. Yet you also talk about the growth of commercialization of the post-World Cup stadia, making those stadia work harder. To what extent is that happening?
I think, Jeremy, that's a that's both a white elephant and a big elephant in the corner, and I think there needs to be some public debate about it. I think there's major
Shoot the elephant, you could knock him down. That's what they've done in some countries, particularly in the East.
Yeah. And I think that's the issue here. I think we need to really critically evaluate each of them on a merit basis. We involved on one of the big ones in Gauteng here, and I can categorically state that it's from a commercial point of view, it's run very well. It's self-sustainable. If we consider from a public point of view the number of events that's coming to the FNB Stadium as an example, it's great. It's world-class events, and the frequency is quite regular. And again, so that imply there needs to be a commercial thinking behind the operations and the management of these stadiums. And to answer your question, I think there's some of them that's really doing well, and others that's really performing poorly. And those needs to be addressed, and alternatives needs to be looked at.
Jaco Beukes, this is not going to become a conversation about Justin Bieber at the FNB Stadium, so we're going to move right along. You referred a little earlier to corporate hospitality, in other words, the boxes, the suites. Are those still good brand builders? Are they a necessary part of this whole process?
Most definitely.
Why?
I think, there's no doubt in my mind that hospitality creates an entertainment platform that's of real value in terms of time spent with client. It's a market where you've got a confined space where you can spend real quality time from a network point.
But there's got to be a defined strategy around that. Often there isn't.
Often there isn't, and I think that's again an element where we spend a lot of time in, and to assist corporates to say, let's help you with that strategy. Make sure you invite the right people to the right events, and it's the right networking platforms. And I think that strategy is lacking on from a corporate point of view. And we spend a lot of time there to make sure that there's additional value. I'm sure you'll appreciate and agree with me, to invite the wrong people to the wrong event where they've got no interest in is going to be a waste of money. But with the passion involved in sport, if you get it right, your benefit is twofold. So,
especially if they drink too much. Jaco Beukes, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed from SAIL. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.